All right, if you're watching this, I have sent you a board and a breakout board, and you want to upgrade your MRF. You might also just be here because you want to know how to upgrade your boards. If you built your own MRF, chances are you don't need this video, but here it is anyway. So, first thing to do is explain what this is. This is a newer design where there's a little battery tray. That just makes it easier to swap out the battery if you need to. And it just keeps things a little bit neater as well. So you might have one of these, you might not. The concept stays the same. You just need to remove the screw in there and the screw in there and take the bottom off. So that's what we'll start with, right? Just crack these screws and then get them out. And then the bottom of your camera comes off like that. If you have, be careful, you keeps your door in place. You can just put it to the side. Just remember to put it back once you're done. I will also take out the battery door here. It's just going to make things much easier to get to. Oh, it's actually necessary. So let's get that out. And that just lifts out like that. Unclip the battery from the feather. Careful not to break that connector like I just did. Luckily easy one to fix. And they can be finicky sometimes. And just get a little screwdriver there and just get it out. Luckily this clip is easy to fix. I've got a bunch of them. So I'll just fix that on the side. And I'll cut to the fixed battery, or I'll just take a new battery from the parts bin and replace it with that. Unclip your ribbon cable by lifting up that little socket there and take it out. Put the body to the side and let's replace the old board with the new board. This is much easier to do if you take out the buttons first. The switch can stay unless it gets tricky, so let's get the buttons out. You do that by just loosening that nut there for each of them, and then they just push out from the inside out like that. Lift them out. Same for that one. All right. What we also need to do is take this harness here, the button harness, and just unplug that. Once again, be careful not to break that all again comes out. Then we will need to remove 2 screws, one there, and that will allow your board to slide out. They're small, don't lose them. If you do lose them, they are in 2x4s, easy to find. All right, so that's gone loose, and you'll see the board will just get these wires out of the way, and the board will just slip out like that. This is the old board. Send it back to me if you want. If you don't, you can unsolder with great difficulty the feather and use it for something else. The harness doesn't need to be changed, but I will send you a new harness as well if I'm sending you one of these boards. Remember, if you're soldering this yourself, to make sure that you clip the leads at the bottom here, otherwise this won't fit. So just slide that back in there. It goes into that little notch there for the USB port, and you line up your holes and screw it back in. Easy peasy, all right? It will also help when you take your buttons out to make sure that you remember which one went where. I'm going to have to plug in the camera and go through the eyepiece to make sure that left stays left and right stays right. That's the board in. Great. Like I said, I'm going to keep these buttons to one side for now, and I will replace the harness. If you're curious about what the new board does, basically, power for the LiDAR in the previous board came from the 3.3 volt rail that the feather provides, and it turns out it was a little bit noisy, and as well as having other devices on there, you didn't always get a full 3.3 volts. So what the new board does is it takes the 4.7-ish volts from the battery, pushes that to the breakout board, which has its own LDO, which takes your 4.7 volts and steps it down to a clean 3.3 volts. And then I've added some capacitors around it as well. That just smooths things out and makes sure that's a steady supply of electricity that gets to the LiDAR. It improves things somewhat. It's not perfect because it's still a little limited sensor, but it's much better, especially outside. So this is done now. I'm going to put this to the side for now. I'm going to cut away and get a fresh battery, and then I'll be back to show you how to do the breakout board. Right, new battery, fresh, polarities, good. Let's plug it in and see if our harness still does what it should. Let's switch it on. Yes, of course, this is a fresh feather, so we'll need to program it as well, but we can do that in a bit. Let's do the breakout board first. There's an easy way and a finicky way to do this, and a harder way, but a less finicky way to do this. I'm going to do the easy way. And if it gives me trouble when I put it back on or back together again, then we will do it the proper way. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws that you need to undo on the edge of the camera here. And I will do that now. One on the side here. The one on this left side is shorter than the others. Remember that, and make sure you put the right one back where it should be. Then the last one here. If you've got one of the cameras with the newer cameras with a titanium advanced shaft, you might find that when you lift up this plate from the camera body, it grips a little. Just be gentle with it, and it will eventually come away from. There we go. All right. There's the breakout board over there. I'm going to unclip that ribbon cable just to keep it safe. And then I will also unplug both plugs from these sockets. And then you'll see that it sits on its own there. Let's get rid of that older one. This board is green because I was testing a previous version of the new breakout in this camera. And so that needs to be replaced anyway. 2 little screws, lift it out, and let's replace that with the new breakout. I find that you can plug everything in and then pop it in there, but I like just doing that afterwards. So that's what I'm going to do. Pop it back into its little notch. Don't over tighten these screws as they're going right into plastic. Once they're tightish, leave them. Plug ribbon cable back in. Plug all of wires back in. LiDAR as the one with the bigger plug. I should have plugged this in before. Be patient with me, please. I will be patient with the camera. This is why I said it might be easier to plug it in before you screw it in. There's not a lot of room to work with there. In fact, let's do that. Let's just make it easy on ourselves. Much better. And then let's just pop it back in the notch and pop our screws back in. I'm going to put everything back, but I'm not going to put the screws in yet because I just want to test that everything works as it should. When you're putting this back, you'll see that there is a piece of plastic in there, and that has a notch, and that needs to line up with the notch in the take-up inside here. That's why I said there's an easy and finicky way, which is this, where you need to just make sure everything is aligned so you can pop it back on. And the easier way is just to take this whole viewfinder apart and take this out into separate parts, put this over, and then put the take-up spool back over there. I'm lazy, and looks like I like to make trouble for myself, right? So I just need to align these bits, which is proving harder than it should. All right. I will cut back to where I've gone and put this back together. All right, we're back. This took a little bit of effort, but it's back on. I'm not going to put the screws on back yet. What I've done as well is I've flashed my feather with the latest firmware. So what we'll do now is connect the ribbon cable up. And this can also be finicky, but we just want to test that everything that works should work. You'll also see I have already put back the buttons into their place. Ribbon cables in, and then the 2 things that you have to check that works. Switch it on. The back screen should power up. The screen inside should power up as well. Yep. And then if you look through it, your LiDAR has to work as well, right? And that works too. So we are all good here. That means that we can put the bottom back together again. This one has the battery tray, so I'll put that in first. And that's just a little thing that goes there. Be careful not to damage your ribbon cable. If you've got the version with the battery tray, put the ribbon cable in first because it is impossible to get it in there once the battery tray is in there as well. You get these little screws for the tray and just pop it in there. All the battery tray does is just keep things a little neater in there. And it also allows you to, with a little effort, I have to admit, replace the battery without having to take this whole bottom off. So I'm just putting that back in there, making sure that these wires won't pinch when we put things back together. Same for these. I just tuck them under the tray here. Make sure they're out of the way. Same for the ribbon cable, just kind of tucks in here as well. You'll know when you pinch something, right? That looks good. Let's just, that's perfect. No pinching there, all clean. Let me screw this back together. One screw will always stay in because of the magnet on the side here, which makes it easier. And then you've just got this one left here on this side. All right, so that bit's clean. That's done. Let's just switch it off, on again. Make sure everything's working. That's perfect. That's good. And now we can put the screws back as well. Remember, one short screw on the side. Let's put that in first. And then the rest are slightly longer. Oh, that's gone in wrong. There we go. All right, all done. What I have forgotten is this. Easy enough to put back. I'm just going to take the bottom off, pop it back in, and then we're actually done. So I'm not going to make you watch this. Thanks for watching this. I hope this helped. If I sent you a board, you're in touch with me. If you've got any questions, ask me. Send a message, and I'm always happy to help out. I hope this improves your experience with the camera. Take care.